Okay, so this is March 14, 2016. I'm going to put this first, and then I'm going to put what I was doing on the 12th. I think it was the 12th. The thing about the 12th is, though, it was 2 days ago, right? Now, I'm outside, eh? Because I'm under pressure, right? I have to get this stuff done as fast as I can. I'm the Hulk without a crew. The green boogeyman, right?
The boogeyman?
Yeah, be quiet. Go back to sleep. Anyway, as I was out there with Andre, soon after I did that little videotape, which you'll see, I had people walking up and down the street. Chinese people, right? And they're like, a couple, a man and a woman. And I'm like, yes, can I help you? And I said, can I help you? Hello? They basically ignored me. Maybe they didn't speak English, who knows? And then about half an hour, 45 minutes later, 3 more people walked up. This was on Sunday. Or whatever day it was. Can't be Sunday. Because today's Monday. It would have been Friday. It was like just 2 days ago or something. 2-3 days ago. It will say the date, because I try and say the date, right? And a Chinese woman came up with another couple. A young Chinese woman and an older couple. Not that old, maybe in their late 40s. And she asked me where the sign was. And if I was still selling my house. And I'm like, well, I'm just the renter, and I'm not sure what's going on with the house. And I, asked her if she was a realtor. She said she was. And she kept kind of insisting if the house was being sold. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, phone and find out. Because she said it was still listed. That's what she said. Well, it's still listed. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, are you a realtor? Yes, I am. Well, then, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, sign's not there. If you're a realtor, it's common sense. And if it's still listed, I'm sure wherever it's listed, you can phone the landlord, right? And then I kind of reminded her as to how much it cost to this place was for sale, right? And she blew it off like it was nothing. And then I asked her if she realized what she was doing in terms of, like, fostering the idea of selling houses at an overinflated price. I was trying to be tactful about it, right? And how all these house sales were going to people that basically aren't even born in Canada. Some of them don't even live in Canada. You have to remember, people, there are houses being bought in Vancouver and the West End and the Grey Point Grey area, which is very extremely prestigious. That's where the Premier lives, up in that neighborhood, or Mr. Gordon Campbell, right? And like they're selling houses down there for $2-3 million a pop. And these people from China and places like that, they come, they buy the house, they pay cash, whatever they do. A lot of them are just paid cash. They sign in as homemakers or as students with no income. These are the people that are buying these houses in cash. And then oftentimes leaving these houses empty. It's starting to happen in Surrey. Maybe the houses aren't being left empty at this point yet, but they're being bought out in cash by people that cannot speak English, have absolutely no Canadian values, because they're not from here. They have no obligation to Canada in terms of our values and how we treat people. Okay? Their mission is to purchase property regardless of the cost, because they can afford it for whatever reason, whatever. I don't know how people from China can cross over and just slap down $1 million cash, or do their little wheeling dealing with crooked freaking brokerages and that type of thing, so that they can purchase houses with no income. as homemakers and students. And then do whatever it is that they do. Well, many of these houses in the Vancouver area are sitting empty. And if they're not houses, they're condos. Well, people like me that were born in this country that got locked into corrupt legislative rules and laws and the rule, you know, best practice this and, you know, if you make $1, you're going to go to jail. Go straight to jail. You're educated from a very early age, like Andre is being educated right now with Soup coming around harassing and everybody picking on Grandma, everybody picking on Nana. He's witnessing this. My landlady's daughter is standing there saying, well, what if they don't want this? What do you mean, what if they don't want this? Your parents and you that I've been putting in a pond ever since the freaking hole was dug out. They're the ones that dug out the hole by bringing in the freaking backhoe. Ripping up the yard. After it was done, it took me 4 years. So nobody can say that all of a sudden they don't want a pond. When we've been waiting for almost 1.5 years for that pond. But unfortunately, I'm only one person and I haven't been feeling very well myself. And it's hard to get back up on that bandwagon for the umpteenth time and go out there and do it again under those conditions. With a whip on your back now. Over toys in the backyard that nobody sees. That get filthy with mud. Because it's okay to have mud in your yard. Right? The city doesn't care about the water saturation in the ground here. Throughout the whole freaking property. As a matter of fact, I need to phone up the city and ask for a soil engineer. Ask for a soil engineer for them to go down 3-4 feet down deep into the ground with a pull it out, and let's see how much water is in the soil, in the ground. Because it's so saturated from somewhere else. And with all these houses being ripped up, I can guarantee you it's probably just not my neighbor's house. Because the water, as they're ripping up all these pipes, it's going somewhere. And not only that, but you know what they like to do too? Here's another thing they like to do out here. As soon as a house has been designated as no good no more, and it's on the list to be demolished, okay? And it gets boarded up, and it sits like that for who knows how long, or even before, like now, living here, if you notice the water problems aren't being dealt with. If you notice that, there's a reason for that, because water destroys things. That's why I get upset about my stuff being destroyed out in the garage all the time, or in the X Club all the time, because of that leaky fucking roof. Because water destroys things, right? It brings in mold. Mold brings in algae. Algae brings in freaking wood rot, and it starts to eat whatever it's plant. Plastic is the only thing that you can really bleach down and almost bring it back to a new state, right? But anything else gets ruined, including cement. And ground and house foundations and that type of stuff. So when they know that the house is going to be demolished at some point, it's already been set up for that. It's been set up for that. Because something new is moving in, they will let the pipes run. I have gone into boarded up houses or been on the property of boarded up houses, and the owners of those houses purposely, probably for 2 reasons, flood the house out. One, to keep the homeless people out. Where the old apple tree is, homeless people moved into that one, and they ended up just flooding it out. They just let the water run, they broke a pipe, they did something, and it just ran and 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 ran. It was just completely flooded, and all that water went into the alley and washed down my road. Well, something else is flooding. There's a loose pipe somewhere, and it's more than one. And because of the type of soil that I have here, and I'm on a slope, and it's already been saturated, because apparently the ground can only hold so much water, and once it gets past that point of 100%, We can thank the pond digger for this one, because I was watching one of his videos yesterday, and he was talking about, in that video, how somebody had put a pond in their yard, and because they seamed up the, what's it called? The waterfall, it was leaking on the bottom, and as it was leaking on the bottom, it took a long time for the owner to figure it out, and by the time he did figure it out by having a soil engineer come in, the ground had got so oversaturated that it was at 106%. In other words, it never went away. Even though the surface dried, right, to a certain degree, once you got below that surface, down 2-3 feet, it was full of water. Well, I'm starting to wonder if that's what's going on around here, because of all this water coming in from all these different properties. Whether it's my landlord, or I'm sorry, whether it's my neighbor next door with his drainage tiles, or whether it's the house that was just torn down over there last year, or whether it was the work that the city just did over there over the last month and a half, 2 months ago, because they're digging holes over here, so something's going on. Or whether they tore down a house over there, because they tore down that house not 2 years ago. Then they tore the house down across the street. Where's that water going, people? From those pipes. Prior to that, they had that house over there by the apple tree. They had the water running for a fucking year straight. Because they knew they were going to destroy the house, so they don't care if it gets rotten underneath from the water saturation. You know? And maybe this is affecting our health too. Never thought about that before until just today. Because my daughter has a kidney infection for some strange reason. As Suk is standing out there laughing at her, because she's worried about me dying, being outside doing all this yard work for nothing, for free, with a whip on my back, as I'm being threatened to be evicted, as I'm being told to give away my stuff so I can make it easy for the new owner that doesn't speak English, that can drop down $1 million. Stay or not stay, doesn't matter, because they can just go fly back to China and do what they want, and then come back and buy another house. As I'm being told to give away my stuff, to make it easy on myself for the day that when they show up with the eviction notice. As I'm expected to still work in the yard and make it nice for everybody else before I leave. As my family is getting sick from all this psychological abuse, because it's been ongoing since 2003, right? When the BC Liberal government cut me off of welfare illegally, I'll say it again, right? With 5 dependent children, because I couldn't go to work. I had to stay home and look after the kids, and I had to look after Uncle John. I had no choice at that time. And when I lost my welfare check, I couldn't stay in that house, so we ended up in that little shanty shack, which was another form of abuse. Because in order to stay in that shanty shack, I had to look after that little girl. Because if the mother of that little girl would have lost the little girl, the father of that little girl would have sold the house, fourplex, little, whatever. I was on the main floor. And we would have been evicted. And we had just moved in from a crazy apartment that was flooding. It was a 2-bedroom after I moved in from my house to the 2-bedroom apartment. I was there for 2.5 months. Right? The bloody place was flooding constantly. The guy was running around acting like it was a freaking concentration camp. I couldn't have all my kids with me legally under the fire code. My 13-year-old daughter was being displaced into a house that I thought was safe, that turned out to be where the parents were actually doing the drugs. Right? Because I had to appease the property management under that fire code that my daughter was supposed to stay with me. She had her own bed, but I had to prove that I could house her somewhere else while I was living in that apartment. So needless to say, that apartment only lasted for 2.5 months. And then I ended up in that shanty shack, as if I can afford to move again, after losing my house for 7 years. So yeah, I took on the burden of looking after a little girl that wasn't mine, while my schizophrenic, mentally ill landlady lived in the basement. And I ended up looking after her too, for 3.5 years, under the watchful eye of MCFD. Then we moved to an apartment, right? And all that happens there is I get cops called on me all the time, right? For painting rocks and making music in the courtyard and playing with, water and swimming pools and that kind of crap. No. Well, the property management did nothing about that because they didn't want to help me, because if they helped me, then they would have became financially responsible to help bring in programs to those 60 plus some youth that I was out there with, working with all the time. With just Uncle John and I financing that. Because nobody else financed that. I was the one that did metal recycling for a year and a half, people. A year and a half, I did metal recycling like those homeless people do metal recycling. Only I took it one step further. I didn't throw away the screws. I saved them. Had a big bag full, couple of them. I'm talking big. That's how much shit I took apart. And I made the money, and I went and I bought hockey nets and soccer balls and snack and that kind of stuff when I wasn't paying for it myself. As I was pleading with the parents to help. But everybody wanted to sit there and cry that, oh, well, we're poor. Yeah, well, I know what poor is all about, trust me. Somebody would give me $1, act like they gave me $1 million. But what drove me out of there wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was the people that would phone the cops on me and stand there and stick their tongue out at my kids and threw hot water at my kids because they tried every which way to shut me down. So then I move into a freaking fourplex, right? Thinking, oh, finally I'm at peace. I don't have to worry about this crap anymore. In terms of my neighbor calling the cops on me because I'm outside in the courtyard with some banjos, right? And harmonicas and shit like that. I can actually do something with my own family for a little while. Yes, I can go back to Gateway Place, but I'm separate now from that, right? I'm not right there having kids coming to my house every day at 6:30 in the morning asking Uncle John where I am, that they want me to go outside and freaking go in the courtyard. And Uncle John saying, well, come back at 9, it's only 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, go home. That's what Uncle John used to do. He used to send the children home. Or he'd bring them in and he'd watch them. If it was a Saturday morning and we were all going to go to Umoja or something like that, the meeting place was my house. So instead of showing up at 8:30, 8:45 in the morning before Umoja come, because I used to help driving the kids back and forth, right? And I'd participate with them with my own kids. So everybody wanted to ride in my car, so everybody showed up at my house, and they were showing up at 6:30 in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Uncle John would send them away. They'd be back at 8, and he finally let them in. I'd get up and, whatever, I'd get up, and all of a sudden I'd get up, and there'd be like 8 kids in my house, in my apartment, I'm sorry. And if these people walking through my house think they can't move now, they should have tried this shit at Gateway Apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment, as the property management decided that they wanted to rip out windows and replace them so that they could do their improvement, their property improvement, and then kick out the vulnerable families, change the carpet, change the vinyl, right? And then jack the rent up by 300%. And if these people walking through my house can't see what they're buying, even though they got their eyeballs on the freaking yard, despite the water saturation, that's not what they're looking at, people. They're looking at the freaking greenhouse. They're looking at Mr. Lace's pen. They're looking at the dirt that I dug up for the last 6 years, and that it's actually plantable. They're looking at the fact that there's freaking compost boxes out here that you can actually use and become viable. Versus having to ship in your dirt. You got dirt. Real dirt that grows things now, after 6 years. They should have walked through Gateway Place in that little dinky-winky apartment. As, like I said, property management was ripping out all the windows, including the sliding door. That was pretty rough. But that's all in part and parcel with the psychological warfare on the poor, though, because it disrupted the family and it kept us fighting. Just like when we moved into that fourplex. Within the first 3 weeks, I already told you what happened with that. Right? To keep us fighting, to keep us derailed, to keep us angry, to keep us frustrated, to keep us scared, to keep us worried, to keep us broke. to keep us hungry. Right? Just the whole 9 yards to keep us. As long as we're on lockdown, they're happy, and we're on lockdown. So finally, okay, I get out of that situation and I move in here and I'm thinking, okay, great, this is peace. Peace. Right? I'm looking for peace, people. Ever since I lost my house in 2003. But if you notice, I'm working for that peace. I'm painting, I'm building, I'm out in the kids with the community, you know, and I did park events. I did one in 2012, right? Blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm still looking for that peace. I move in here and boy, oh boy, I tell you, it hasn't been very peaceful. It hasn't been very peaceful. I mean, it could have been more peaceful, you know, and so anyway, you know, like, anyway, books, nonprofit books aren't getting done, people. They're just not getting done. I'm too tired. Like, I'm worn out. Like, seriously, I am so freaking worn out. So, yes, that's what I was talking about. So, I'm out there. I'm all motivated, even though I'm worn out. Right? Because you know I'm worn out. I mean, it doesn't take brain surgeon to figure that one out. And, you know, this woman, she's asking me why I don't want to leave. She's antagonizing me. I'm out there trying to stay focused, trying to stay positive, right? You know, just trying to move forward, you know, that type of thing, no matter what, you know, complete what you started, that type of thing, right? And she's antagonizing me. You don't want to move? Because I told her, I said, like, you know, I don't want to move. I don't know if the house is up for sale. I'm the renter that doesn't want to move. That's what I told her. Oh, you don't want to move? Why? Why don't you want to move? Being cocky with me, right? And I'm like, well, why would I? I've been in here for 6 years, you know? I'm in the middle of doing something, can't you see? Oh, well, you know. Anyway, I don't know if she phoned the landlord to see if maybe these people gonna pay out $670,000, $90,000, $690,000. They want to put this place up for sale. You know? That's ridiculous, people. I have never seen a white person once in the last 6 years. I've never heard of not a white person. Oh, I think one. I think one white person came to this house in the full 6 years, because this is not the first time my landlords have put this house up for sale. Okay, because this shit started a long time ago. It's always made me feel insecure, especially when my landlady threw in that if you don't like it, you can move crap, right? And then, you know, they tell me, oh, it wasn't us that put the house up for sale. It was my brother or something like that. And just if somebody comes to the house asking to see the house because the house is for sale, tell them that you know nothing about it, that it was a mistake, and tell them to go away. Don't show them the house. That's happened like 2 or 3 times since I've lived here. What's new though is they're actually having booking appointments now and having people go through, and you know, I have one member saying, "Oh, I'm the one that's grandstanding." No, I'm not the one that's grandstanding. I'm the one that was misled to think that I could live here for as long as I wanted and have not the rent go up, and that I had good landlords that actually cared about us as a family. All right? That's why I invested all this time into the yard. Because I thought there was a future here and there would be some peace for my family. As I promoted the nonprofit. I know that's going to get a thumbs down, because anytime I take the bad in life and put it next to the nonprofit, which is the good in life, it's that gotta sabotage me in the courtyard with the kids, right? Call the cops. Quick. Dial the 911. She's at it again. She's not stopping. What's the matter with that woman? We can't shut her up. It's stupid. So anyway, I got mad. I was disgusted after she left. Because don't forget, prior to that, I had another couple walking by that was just... They weren't friendly or nothing. Just... And I'm like, yes, can I help you? Hello? And then another 15, 20 minutes later, this Asian woman with her clients showed up, asking me why I don't want to move. What's the big deal? What's the big deal, people? So I got a huffy after they left, and I huffed and puffed around the yard there for a bit. And I just gave up. I just stopped working for the day, and I didn't go out yesterday because I'm working on my kitchen. I'm going into my cupboards and wiping off the grease and the grit and the dust and the spiders and stuff, right? Spices and stuff, right? Just going through some stuff and reorganizing a bit in my kitchen, right? So today I have to go to the pawn shop before I start losing my other stuff that's in the pawn shop, right? And then by the time I get back, I'll be exhausted. So who wants to go outside? And because my eyes are bugging me all the time, like all the time, right? I can only see so much for so long before my eyes really start to go like this, right? You know, paperwork is hard. Paperwork is hard. In terms of nonprofit stuff. But March 19th, we're signing over board of directors. Well, we're not signing over. We're adding on to. We're removing Uncle John because, you know, it's been a year now. So, honestly, we can say he's disappeared. Right? And we're adding on 2 more. And then after that, I don't know, this new board director wants to do something. I don't know what he wants to do. I have to read the paperwork on it first. I have to sign something because I'm the president. Probably something that's going to get me into trouble. I told him, I said, no, you're the president. Why do you think I talk to you? But in reality, I'm the president. So does that bring in another thumbs down? Is that 2 now that I got? So anyway, I don't know, people. I don't know how much I'm going to get done today. This is a little longer than I expected, right? I don't know. I just don't know. I say that a lot these days. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I'll let you know what happens tomorrow. Okay, people, I think it's March 12th, 2016. I think it's the 12th today. Anyway, yesterday I was in here trying to finish up a little bit as to what I was doing. Right, you can see that's the lavender. The bees really like lavender a lot. It's not underneath there. What I've done here, people, is I've taken out some
So what?
5-year-old dirt. It's very nice. Right. I have to dig all the way underneath, and then what's going to happen is it's either going to drop, or I'm going to take some of this stuff, stuff it underneath there, and then take a pitchfork, start moving everything around so that it drops. Right?
Yeah, but I think this face
As you can see,
See?
it's quite full.
Whoa!
Right?
See, look.
And then I'm mixing it in
Yeah, it's trying to break.
into this other dirt.
Yeah,
I'm reading up on a book right now.
wait.
Just hold on a minute. I'm reading up on a book right now about the various types of dirt. All right? And the dirt that's here, this side and here.
And talk about this one.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Had
How to what?
well, a lot of weeds. It was weeds
Yeah,
minus morning
wild.
glory. Or obviously I don't decompose morning glory.
Why, wait.
Right? They go into the compost bin to the city. But outside of that, you've seen me mix in wood and all that other stuff. And then as the yard waste and a little bit of food
Whoa.
is decomposing and it turns into wood. Dirt. And if there's anything left over, right, it just goes back into the main compost pile
See,
again.
look.
And
Whoa.
it just keeps going in circles.
See, look.
I don't know if you can see this. Quiet, Andre. Just please. Nana doesn't want this video too long, okay? I took two planterfuls bigger than that and added it into the dirt that was in here. I don't know if you can see the difference outside of the eggshells. That's what you see in there, eggshells, right? For the calcium.
Yeah.
But mixing it in, you can see a difference in color. I don't know how well the camera's picking up on it, but I can see it from here, right? Because this is more better than that, in terms of that's better than this. So I took this, put it over there, took some of that, mixed it in, and now this little spot here is richer. Same thing with this side. And then I just threw in a few potatoes in the ground. Okay, let's go. We're gonna go in the actually.
Wait, look.
Okay. What? Andre, I just put the board on it to keep the cats off it.
No.
Okay, we're working in the front. And then I put some strawberries in here that were in a pot, right? So those ones will get planted. There's still 2 more that needs to go in, right, somewhere. So I'll maybe do another one here, or maybe I'll put a bigger one there or something. Because I'm trying to keep the animals out of here, right, people? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Andre and I are working in the front. So we're going to go in the front and see what we're going to do there. Hold on. Okay, so now we're in the front. And if you remember correctly, just the other day, Sook was pointing this, what you doing over here? Well, we knew the bucket was going to attract a problem, right? Obviously, I started to deal with this situation. My landlords have known that I've been wanting to put a pond in for a very long time. So this is no news, people. I mean, obviously, it's a big gaping hole. My landlord sat there on the dusty steps with me last year as we talked about, you know, the situation with Uncle John and the finances and all this other stuff. He knows there's a pond being put in here. My landlady comes every month, and in the summertime, she goes to the yard, and, you know, she likes to look at the vegetables, and she likes to give me a few ideas and a few pointers, and she likes to look at the flowers. So it's not like she didn't notice the hole. So this is no new surprise.
It's a pond.
Okay? This is something that needs to get done. And I agree. Personally, I would love to have a crew come in and help me with it. Not do it for me, but help me with it. If you notice, I got some beautiful rocks there for, they're flat and they're straight. Can you see that? That's what you need for a waterfall. Andre likes to cut the leaves on this tree. This thing should actually be trimmed down before it gets too big again. It's a nuisance tree. I don't like it, right? I really don't like it. It looks like it's going to be producing berries again. My landlord actually cut it right down to the bare bones, and it only took a couple years for it to get back to that state. So anyway, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to just move a few... I planted a grass here. Can you see that? It's starting to come up. Last week it wasn't. This week it is. I think it's grass. It's something that I bought at Home Depot. It was at the end of the year, and it was on its last legs. That's why I did that. Right? It's like a water grass or something. I may have to transplant it. When I bought it, I just wanted to stick it in the ground. So we'll work around the plant for now. Okay? And we'll work on cleaning up out this, because I'm going to get into some wood, because I have to post one for sure. I would like to do 2 at the same time, but I don't have another one. Oh, I think I only have one of these. I might have one. If I have the other one, I may do 2 of them. I'm not sure. But one for sure, because I want one for this plant, and then one for those. That stuff right there, right? So you got 2 different plants crawling to meet in the middle. Oh, sorry.
Did you hear that rain?
I hear the ringing all the time. You heard it too, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know if the camera picked up on it. I asked a city worker that was out on the streets yesterday, as a matter of fact. He was digging a hole or something out there. If he heard it. He said he did. It took him a minute, though. And then, you know, I said, any ideas on how I can track it down and stop it? He didn't have any ideas. All right. And something over there. It instigates the ringing in my ears because I'm very, very sensitive to it. Okay, so, and then as I'm working on that, people, because I don't really want to be getting into a lot of mud. The only other thing I'd want to do at some point today is that over there. But that's not an all-day agenda because it's cold outside right now. And, you know, mud gets gooey, right? But Speaking of mud, all this in here needs to be slivered off, and I have to sift out those rocks and then decide what I'm going to do with the leftover, whatever it is, whether it's grit, gravel, sand, mud, clay, who knows, right? It's going to be a combination of different things. And this is where I'm going to get the book out on determining what kind of dirt you have. You have to remember that when they came in with the backhoe, they purposely mixed up everything. In some ways it was good because it got rid of, it brought up the clays and it brought up the underneath the ground dirt, which isn't good dirt anyway, but it's something that you can add to, right, as a fill. I don't know. Tisha's with her boyfriend. Yeah, I'm doing a video. Okay. Sorry, I'll tell her you came by. No, she's not home. Yeah, your name again? Katie, I'll tell her you came by. Okay, I like your dog. I want one too. Andre needs a puppy. Yeah? Okay. Andre needs a puppy. Anyway, people, I need a place to put this dirt as it's coming after the rocks are out, right? I've already put a whole bunch in there. I'm still emptying out this, right? Because these guys, like I said, they came in and they were digging up the ground. Even in here, they dug up a little bit, right? But especially in here, they just mixed it all up for me. So, it's not like it used to be in terms of, the underneath is the landfill, and then, the clays, and then the landfill, and then the gravel rocks, and then the sand. They just turn around and mixed it all up. So now I have to sift through it, right? And I have to put that miscellaneous dirt or whatever it is into something. I can't use the compost box over there. I can't use the compost box over there. I can't use the compost box over there. I can't use that one, right? I'm sure in hell not going to carry this stuff to the back, right? And this is what I have been dealing with all these years. That's what I got, like 9, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 composts on this site, on this property. 10 composts, and the majority of them are large. No, wait, I'm almost done. This will be number 11, which it will be right here. So the agenda today is start clearing out in there, start figuring out what kind of wood I'm going to use to try and make the basic frame to build in a... I hope you heard that. To make a basic frame, because you can build waterfalls on a wood around a wood frame. That's what I want there instead of a pile of dirt. I'd rather those kind of things with the plants on a sliding level with the waterfall in the middle, and then some hidden area behind all that to put whatever you need to put in order to run the pond effectively, right? Whether that's pluggings or whatever, because I have outside lights too. I used to have them before. I'd string them out, and they with the big round. I don't know what the wattage is on the light bulb, but I have several of those that need to be put back out here. So you're gonna get the green highlight with the light coming in. I could put a blue over here. I could put a red over there. I have all that, right? So you have to connect it though and make sure that those cords are covered, right? Just yeah. So, maybe some of that will go in there. So this right here is the only spot that I can think of building in a bigger box, because I don't think that plant honestly is going to do very well. Now it's been transplanted. You're going to get new shoots, but at the end of the day, it likes a long pot, right? Or like a long. Andre, please. This is taking too long. It likes to bury its roots deep, right? So if I make a big planter box right here in the middle of this to take up all this and to add in, and I'll show you, we'll be making dirt again. That's what we're going to be doing, people. We're going to be making the next level of dirt so that either one, it's going to feed the plants that it's in there, or it's just you're going to have better dirt instead of this stuff within a few years. Okay? But in this case, it's to feed this stuff. Whatever I put in there is going to be like a centerpiece. right? And don't forget, these blueberry bushes, they're going to get big. They go 5 by 5. So, I don't know. I figure if they get too big, you can always just dig them up and give them away or move them to somewhere else on the property. I only bought them for the, for the decorative part of it, right? Not so much to eat the blueberries, but more just because it bushes up and, when they're this size over here, which is this plant, where is it? This plant right here I've had for several years now, and I moved it from the back because the chickens were raiding it. They really like to cause havoc on it, right, when it was growing in the back. So I moved it to the front, and it likes it where it is. Then I added some more, which I already know some are going to have to be taken out as they get bigger. But when they bloom, it's a very pretty bush, right? It's a very pretty tree. So anyway, how it gets pruned, you can maybe prune it down to a size where it's manageable. Or at this point, I've kind of guesstimated 5 feet by 5 feet. So if I do make a box, it should be more over here, just in case you like to look later on when it starts to get big and bushy, which obviously won't take, will take several years to do, right? Probably in about 3 or 4 years from now, that's when it's going to look really, really nice. Because they'll be filling out. They'll be filling out like that one over there, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to work on today.